Hey everyone, welcome back to OK Hobby Time. In this video, I'll be creating a mineshaft entrance out of XPS foam. Whether you're en route to a dark dungeon with your D&D party or setting the stage for a Warhammer battle, this tabletop terrain piece is set to be the centerpiece of your gaming table. I'm starting off by building the foundation of the hill on a piece of MDF. This is done by cutting out a bunch of pieces of XPS foam and stacking them together to a height that works best for the scale of my miniatures. The pieces are held together with a generous amount of wood glue. And then attached to the MDF base with more wood glue. I made sure to leave a lip of foam around the base to accommodate all the future cutting I'll be doing. Guides are drawn on the stack of foam to help mark where I'll be cutting. I should also mention that by this point, I had let the glue dry completely so the pieces won't be shifting moving forwards. For the next step, I'll be bringing out my handheld hot wire cutter. Patience is key here, making many small cuts into the foam stack rather than a few big ones. I'm using the guides that I've drawn to make sure I roughly stick to the original proportion I had in mind. It's pretty easy and fun making a stack of foam look rocky with a hot wire cutter. I remember it being my first terrain project back when I first started this hobby as a kid. At this point I wanted to add some additional texture to the hill. I did this by inserting my utility knife into the structure horizontally, then flicking upwards to take out notches. Time to move on to the entrance. I'm using the rod attachment on my hot wire cutter to cut out the perimeter of the mineshaft entrance. I then switched to a spoon and started chunking out the foam left inside. I'm left with the perfect entrance no bigger than the original cutout I made with the hot wire cutter. For this next step, I'll be bringing out my hot wire table to cut out the pieces that will be used as wooden beams and planks. I'll be adding a wood grain to these pieces with my hot wire cutter, but a stiff wire brush would also do the trick here. Rolled up tinfoil is used to make the wood look more old and weathered. The pieces are then attached to the base using wood glue. This is going to be the man-made portion of the mineshaft entrance and will give the terrain piece a nice focal point. The roof of the structure is then measured and traced out onto a piece of foam. The pieces are then cut thinner and cut once again vertically to look like planks. The planks are then textured similar to the rest of the wood pieces and attached to the structure. Making sure to leave gaps between the planks to make them look more like wood. I let these pieces sit for a bit, giving the glue time to dry. Afterwards, I apply more glue on the top of the planks to prep for the roof. The roof planks are then applied one by one. I purposely made these pieces different widths and lengths to give the structure a more ramshackle look. I break some pieces to create holes in the roof to add a bit of visual interest to the entrance. Next, I move on to the rocky outcropping that surrounds the mineshaft entrance. I want this to look different from the hill I made in the beginning of the video. I wanted chunkier, more stylized rocks. I made these with my utility knife by cutting a bunch of angles into the XPS foam. I'm aiming to have a bit of symmetry with the rocks to give the terrain piece a nice balanced look. The largest rocks are placed on the bottom and get smaller as they go up. Smaller rocks are used to blend the mineshaft structure into the hill and the outcropping into the base. To blend this even more, I added a bit of glue around the base to prep the surface for some additional stones. I'll be using these small cork ones, which are a perfect scale for this job. At this point I wanted to add some extra detail to the terrain build. I 3D printed a bunch of things that I thought would work well with the mineshaft, including minecarts and rails. I'm cutting the rail to size in order to get a good fit, then gluing the pieces down. Next, the minecarts are glued down throughout the build, scattered about. These 3D printed pieces really take the build to the next level. The rest of the ground was given a coat of wood glue and then given a layer of coarse sand. The construction portion is complete and it's time to paint. I tried something new this time around, foam safe spray paint primer. This ended up working really well and saved a bunch of time. The primer is really dark, so I start by giving the entire build an overbrush of a lighter brown. I then start on the stones by giving them a dry brush of grey, allowing some of the brown to show through for some extra dimension. The stones are then given one more dry brush, this time with the lighter grey and only picking out select details. The wood was then dry brushed with a lighter brown, making sure to leave the darker colors in the recesses. The texture of the hot wire cutter really helps with this part since the deep wood grain makes it easy to dry brush and create a lot of contrast. A lighter brown is used to pick out the edges of the wood and make it look more weathered. This color is also used in select areas to add some extra highlights. I'm trying out Dirty Down Rust for the first time here and applying this paint to the minecarts. I got decent results and also added a bit of bronze dry brush to bring back the metallic look. PVA glue is applied throughout the floor of the terrain piece to prep for the flock. I'm using coarse green turf by Woodland Scenics here, applying the flock from up above. The same is then done with the front of the mineshaft entrance. Finally, I add a few last details such as these tufts, and this hanging foliage, which worked out really nicely for placing between the large rocks to help blend everything together. And that wraps up this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for future hobby content. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.